Good morning, guys. Today I'm gonna do something very interesting. I've been playing the guitar for like good 15, 18 years, and I never really tried to master the guitar, which is really a shame. I play the guitar for the reasons of playing for myself to sing and just for fun, and I never really tried to learn notes, musical notes to read from, or any guitar theory or music theory in general, but I would like to now, and I have downloaded this book from the internet, and I think I'm gonna try to start to read it. This book I will link in the description if you'd like to purchase yourself, but I will show you the content of the book. So it has some information about the author and this book and what its goals, and some introduction pages here, but it gets to very detailed music theory. I'm not really familiar with the titles here, but I think from what I've read on this book that it should provide good guitar music theory for me to learn, in terms of like scales that I can learn, and how the scales are assembled, like the major scale or something. I don't know. I don't want to say things that will sound like I know what I'm talking about when I'm actually not. So I'm gonna start reading the book. First, you will have to bear with me. My reading skills are very bad. I have ADHD. Sometimes the letters get messed up altogether, so I get stuck, but it's okay. I will start reading, and I'll see where this introduction page is, and to the author, to the book, and to the to the education that actually goes on here becomes less useful, and I will start doing other things. So about the author, Troy Stetina is an internationally recognized guitar virtuoso and music educator with more than 30 methods, books, videos, and DVDs published by High Leonard Corporation. He is also guitarist for the alternative rock band Second Soul and side project Secret Society of Starfish on Unicorn Records, plus columnist for Guitar One magazines. You see, that's what I'm talking about. Magazine's Return of the Shred. Visit him online at www. For free tips and lessons. Plus, okay, that's not interesting. Preface. Well, it is interesting for the people who are interested in the author of the book or the musician here. But with all the respect, I now want to start studying music theory. Okay, as a natural companion to my advanced technique book, Speed Mechanics for Lead Guitar. Both are the result of my professional search as a guitarist. Years ago, my goals on the guitar were essentially twofold. First, I wanted to eliminate any physical restrictions. That is, I wanted to be able to play anything, including any sequence of notes, at any speed. My experience in developing that kind of technique was then organized into speed mechanics for lead guitar to help others accomplish the same thing. Okay, So he developed a technique to practice on the mechanics of playing guitar and be good at it. Okay, that's interesting. I'll be looking into it. Second, I wanted to understand the fretboard inside out. I wanted to make it completely transparent so my ideas could flow instantly from imagination to the guitar without any need to translate. Okay, I know exactly what he's talking about. I want the same thing. I can't do the same thing right now, but I will be training for that. When I heard something, whether from inside or outside my own head, I would know instantly how it appeared, so I could just think the fretboard and compose songs and solos entirely in my head, nice and practical. However, my pursuit to understand the fretboard didn't stop with the fretboard. How could it? After all, what is the fretboard but the guitar's gateway into a musical labyrinth? Okay, so in order to truly understand and make full use of the fretboard, one must understand music itself. And that brings up my third goal. Wow, that's exactly what I'm thinking. Did I say I only had to? Never believed that. From early on, I was curious that how music worked in a large sense. How did my chosen style related to other styles? What were the common elements of the differences? I sought a unifying view. I wanted to see the big picture as well as my own specialized niche too. I suppose properly place my experience. The good news is that gradually I achieved this fretboard transparency as well as a wide knowledge of music that went with it. As a result, music seems simple, and it is, when you look deeply enough and separate the decorative elements from the meat of it. But make no mistake, it is a simplicity born from, I think I need to put some free copyright music on the background. Copyright free, just a little bit. Maybe, no. Of course not. Shit, only classical. No. Yeah. No. Okay. Oh. Where we stop? Okay. The good news is that gradually I achieved this fretboard transparency as well as the wider knowledge of music that went with it. As a result, music seems simple. And it is, when you look deeply enough and separate the decorative elements from the meat of it. But make no mistake, it is a simplicity born from myriad of details and ingrained skills, so it only feels simple after you know it. Not much consolation, I suppose. Nonetheless, this book is my attempt to make it simple for you too. Fretboard Mastery is comprehensive ear training theory, chord, scale, melody, and soloing book. It builds a powerful yet flexible framework for understanding music and guitar. Let's just a little bit lower. Okay. Fretboard Mastery is a comprehensive ear training theory. That's very good for me because I relied for 18 years on playing the guitar on my ear, but I do want something that isn't the ear anymore. Some good music theory would be good. Or it would reinforce my ear playing skills, I think. No mistake, it is a simplicity born from a myriad of detail and regain skills, so it only feels simple. Okay, I already read that. It builds a powerful yet flexible framework for understanding music and guitar. My view, essentially. We start with very bedrock of sound and build up the structure right to the top, which will allow you to quickly absorb anything you choose to take your music further. I know that music lives in your untapped imagination, and this book will help you unlock it. Yes, it's advanced. It may at times seem difficult, but preserve. The rewards are more than satisfying and will last a lifetime. Good luck with your playing. Okay, thank you. That was really well written. The goal of Fretboard Mastery. Okay, let's see. Fretboard Mastery is a set of tools designed to make the entire fretboard your playground. Yes, it is challenging. It is intended for intermediate to advanced players who want to see further and take their musicianship to the highest levels. It's not for everyone. We begin with a long series of ear training exercises to build the connection between your inner ear and the fretboard. Then we cover a number of large musical structures in the primary position and continue ear training to recognize them instantly by their sound and associated fretboard shapes. Next, we look at how, by the way, what is written before I already have. When I hear anything played, I can recognize the scale. I can't tell the note because I don't know notes, but I can tell if I try to play along. I can know in a few seconds what, not instantly where I should put my hand, but if I just play with the fretboard for a little bit, I would know exactly what kind of scale that is played, and I can play along. Not very good, not very creative, but I can. Let's continue. I can't see the shapes though. I don't know what he's talking about. Next we look at how music actually works and with regard to tonality, chord progression, melody, etc. Finally, we extend our knowledge over the entire fretboard in a series of superimposed patterns. Through this whole procedure, procedure, I don't know if that's how it's read, procedura in Hebrew, you learn more than a bunch of scale-do patterns. You know how to really use these various sets of notes to make music, all keys, all scales, or notes, or options. Nice. How is my approach different? Well, let's examine the more common approach. Usually you find such things as scales, chords, arpeggios, geos, I don't know, and ear training presented as separate concepts. First, all of them are separate concepts. I don't know. First, you memorize a bunch of scale dot patterns, then you memorize a bunch of chords, some with fancy names, and you wonder how many of these you'll actually use. You may learn some music theory. You hear about tricks. Take this scale and use the same notes, but move 3 steps this way, cross your fingers and play backwards, and this mode becomes another mode, etc. I don't know what was that, because I never got an guitar teacher. I went to 2 different guitar teachers, each 2 lessons, and I just quit. I couldn't, but I kept playing the guitar my way, which was just playing chords and singing to myself. That's what I always wanted to do. But now I find I find interest in mastering actually the guitar and try to play solos and whatnot. I don't know why. It's just fucked up need that I have. I don't know what's changed actually. Yeah, because it seems too complicated. Okay. There doesn't seem to be any rhythm or lesson, or if there is, you give up because it seems too complicated. Furthermore, each era, scales, chords, theory, and songs remain separate, and a lot of it seems downright irrelevant. Okay, I know what he meant here, because it's true. When you learn to play only specific songs and you don't know how they are connected, or like, if I personally, I know, like I can move I can higher or lower the scale with my capo, and I can bring two songs into one scale if I play with that, and change the chords of one song to match the chords that I'm playing, but the scale still is the same, so I can play with that. But I know what he's talking about. I can't do it with other things than just playing songs. But people who are just starting out, maybe 2 until 5 years of playing the guitar, know this, that there is like the songs are separate, they aren't connected. You know to play this song, and if you don't practice it, you'll forget it maybe, but it's not connected to any other thing, any other piece, classical piece or a song, a pop song or whatever that you play. They're not actually connected in any way in your mind, but they are actually in music theory. Okay, so the book is emphasizes on that too, so that's good. Furthermore, each area, scales, chords, theory, and songs remain separate, and a lot of it seems downright irrelevant. Faced with this, most guitarists eventually give up and reconcile themselves to the idea that they just aren't strong on theory. Of those that continue to wade through the sea of details, many recognize that there is deeper understanding that yet eludes them. The missing secret is the knowledge that all these different things are really just different aspects of the same thing. This fundamental thing is the structure of music seen through the guitar, and this is what Fretboard Mastery is really about. Attaining full competence with this information moves you beyond simply being a guitarist and into the realm of pure musician. Since your knowledge of musical structure actually extends to any instrument, here we build up the entire picture the right way from ground level. Then everything falls into place and part of the interconnected whole. That sounds good, of course, but if you are like me, you may be wondering what this really means in practical terms. Here are some of the benefits you will gain. Learning music becomes easier, and you hear music. You can instantly envision the correct fretboard shapes and patterns in your mind's eye. You just pick up your guitar and play it right the first time. Creating music becomes easier. You won't need to hunt for notes you hear in your imagination either. I think that's my stage. Okay. As a result, songwriting becomes easier and faster. Instead of noodling through tired old. Yes, that's exactly what happens to me. I'm playing this chord progression and I try to make up a melody with it, and I want a note to sing along, but I can't make the correct chord. because maybe I don't know it, maybe it's not, I don't know the connection between the previous note that I sang to the one that I want to sing. So that's good. Let's continue. Instead of nodding through tired old patterns, hoping stumble across a new idea, you simply listen to your imagination and create from there. You are no longer tethered to the guitar. You can write music while you drive, take a shower, serve burgers, entertain in a law. Serve burgers, that's funny, because well, a beginner musician would have a simple job at first, maybe. That's why it's funny. In-laws, etc. Your musical ideas becomes more defined. The musical ideas that you hear in your imagination become more clearly defined. Instead of vague impressions, they begin to arise more and more with specific pitch and rhythm. You draw from a broader scope. Any melody in any style of music is immediately perceived in its absolute terms, with melodies are so easy to assimilate. Anything you hear, any song or commercial, any movie soundtrack, any musical idea in any style can be applied to another context instantly. You can pull inspiration from anywhere. You can invoke different moods freely. You can know how to create any mood in an instant by knowing which tones create each feeling. I think I read enough. He's just saying things over and over. Okay, no more bad notes while improvising. No more blank spots on the fretboard. Okay, that's not an issue for me. You gain a deeper understanding of structure of music. You can impress friends. Okay, these skills really add to giving up more artistic control and therefore more personal satisfaction as a musician. That's the ultimate benefit of the fretboard mastery. What style is it? It's gonna say all styles. Let's see. Most of the principles and skills taught here transcend style. Indeed, that is exactly what I am seeking to show you, how the same ideas play out across the board. Therefore, I've made an effort to touch on a range of styles, including rock, alternative metal, pop, classical, jazz, blues, etc. You will see how music works generally and how to point in different stylistic directions. However, I'm a rock player and a shredder at heart, so that's where this book really stretches out in the end. Okay. Yet at the same time, I believe simplicity often plays a more valuable role than complexity. Music is about expressing and creating emotion, so faster is not always better. It is just faster. And isn't a statement made stronger and bolder when non-essential portions are stripped away? In fact, writing good music is as much a process of knowing what to leave out as what to put in. So just because you can play 1,000,000 miles an hour doesn't mean you must do it constantly. It gets boring, to me at least. At this point, my soloing style has become an outgrowth of melody. Sure, I can still play fast passages, but it is not really lick-based playing. It is just music, faster or slower, composed or improvised. It is imagination directly converted to the guitar. Here you will see how melody and soloing are actually two ends of the same thread, and all the principles that apply to melody also apply to soloing, regardless of music stylistic preferences. Through this book is not designed make your style a clone of mine. This book doesn't dedicate a style. It shows you the underlying principles so you have the tools to quickly absorb anything. Indeed, you are encountered to analyze those specific musical situations that interest you most. Then they become a part of you and your style. How to use this book. Okay? In a word, patience. This isn't a book to whip through and quickly leave behind. Hit a portion of it for a while, then set aside and take a breath. Let it soak in. Look for concepts you've learned here within the other music you play and learn. Then come back to this book and tackle another portion, or review a section to anchor it better in your experience, like speed mechanics. This is a book for you. This is a book you can use for years to come, constantly improving your musical abilities and understandings of guitar. Also, realize that this is not easy stuff. Let me repeat that. This is not easy stuff. Some of the skills presented here may take months or years to really nail down fully. So don't sweat it. Don't sweat it if you progress this slow. Progress is slow. This is rather difficult subject. On top of that, it raises the bar. Very few players attain anything near full proficiency with this. You don't have to achieve full proficiency to be a great player, to write good music, or to become successful in music business. Yet, yes, the skills presented here can help you in those pursuits, but they aren't a requirement. Think of the material in this book as an extra credit. It is only necessary for those of you who have personal desire to take your ability to the highest artistic levels. So give yourself credit for even attempting this book, and regard every gain here as added value. Wow, that's very bold. That's a very bold claim. I don't know. Okay. Yet the challenge I present to you in these pages is certainly not impenetrable. The inspiration you feel as you progress, combined with the practical benefits of your new skills, the propel you forward. Just accept it to be slow burn. Stick with the program and you'll gradually absorb it, actually, without a doubt. So here is how you should approach this book. Devote a little time to it each day, realizing you are grinding ground little by little. Work this into your other practice activities, including whatever books, methods, techniques, exercises, songs, and solos interest you. Don't judge your progress by how many pages you have completed or by those yet remaining. Judge only by positive results, specifically your interest, your increasing awareness in hearing, perceiving, and understanding. I want to check something. Okay. Devote a little time each day, realizing you are gaining ground. Little by little, work this into your other practice activities, including whatever books, methods, technique exercises, songs, and solos interest you. Don't judge your progress by how many pages you have completed, or by those yet remaining. Judge only by positive results, specifically your increasing awareness in hearing, perceiving, and understanding. Each person begins at somewhat different level of each of the various skill sets presented here. One section may be easier for you, while another seem baffling beyond belief. That's okay. It just means you need extra time in that area. Come back and review it as needed. Remember, it is the skill development we are after here, not simply getting through any particular exercise. So if you finish a section but feel you haven't really got a good handle on it, hit it again or make up your own similar exercises. Whatever it takes, keep hammering away. Finally, I should mention that there are some fairly challenging playing examples in the book, but honing your physical technique is not the point of Fretboard. These are simply here because they illustrated the concept at hand. For this reason, I have not played them fast and slow, but simply at full tempo. If you feel under-equipped to deal with anything from technique standpoint, I encourage you to apply concepts from speed mechanics for lead guitar and develop your chop as necessary. Okay, so he mastered already the fast stuff. Okay, but okay, I'm not gonna change books now, but maybe I will look at the book when I'm reading. When I get to some part that I need to practice for fast shredding, then I will start reading the other book. I'll see how that happens. The musical staff. Okay, I missed the paragraph there, right? No, the musical staff. You don't have to be a proficient sight reader to use this book, since the musical staff is largely tangential. I don't know what's that. To my approach to the fretboard, the staff is simply a means of communicating musical ideas. Okay, the staff is the notes or whatever. It is not the only means to do music. After all, it's sound and not the written notion on a page. However, the staff is a handy way to show some types of musical ideas very clearly. So when it's necessary or helpful, I will use the staff, particularly in part 3. As a starting point to this method, you should be familiar with the pitches on musical staff and their corresponding notes on the guitar, at least in open positions. If this is totally new to you, pick up a sight reading book for a guitar, sight reading book, or a basic book on guitar method to learn at least the basics of reading staff notion before going deep into this book. Okay. I need to open up a notepad to do stuff. Okay, so wait. I will share the notepad to add a window Notepad, okay, and add the notepad, and okay. Okay, so my notepad will say, let's first font, okay, so the first thing I need sight reading book, sight reading for guitar, right? Book for guitar, or basic book 1 guitar method. Where my music went. And then I also want speed mechanics. Mechanics for lead guitar. Musicians learn to manipulate sound in order to create emotion in the listener. To do this effectively, it helps to have good handles or ways of thinking about the sounds we are using, so we can grab them intellectually and make them do our bidding. We create these handles by naming and categorizing the different aspects of sound. That's called music theory. But of course, you don't have to know the proper naming conversations to play good stuff. Always remember that it's the music itself that is the real thing, and the names we use to praise different aspects of it are merely labels of convenience. Music is the master. The theory is a servant. Music is real. The theory is, well, just a theory. A way of thinking about things. It's not the only way to think about things. It's just one particularly useful way. Nevertheless, there is tremendous value in developing the mental structure of music theory. We can see further, build more elaborate ideas, and even cross-pollinate concepts to create entirely new concepts. Had we not engaged in this labeling effort, we could not even be aware of the existence of most of these ideas, let alone be able to manipulate them in novel ways. So there is a value in music theory. Music theory is systematic praising of elements of music. It's good to learn, but sometimes we have to remind ourselves to stop parsing and simply listen. Don't lose sight of the fact that music and the emotion it conveys is the point of it all. Theory exists to serve the creation of music. Let there be sound. Fundamental level, music is simply an arrangement of sounds in time. And here we have the first hatchet stroke of theory, as it cleaves apart a sound component from a time component. We call this time aspect rhythm, and on a piece of rhythm music, the time or rhythm stretches our horizontally. Stretches out horizontally. Okay. It moves from left to right as time passes. Okay. I don't know. Doesn't matter now. The sound component can be further divided into two subcomponents. Subcomponents. Timbre and pitch. Timbre. I think it's called timbre. Is he British? Timbre refers to the quality of sound or tone of an instrument. For example, you can easily tell the difference between a guitar and a piano because they have different timbre. The word tone is also used generally to describe something similar. A distorted guitar tone versus a clean guitar tone, for example, or a muddy, bassy tone versus a thin, trebly tone. On the other hand, pitch refers to a specific level of highness or lowness. Pitch can be measured in hertz, which is the number of vibrations per second of frequency. Functionally, however, pitch is usually labeled with the letter names we have to call notes A, B, C, D. Pitch is mapped vertically. On musical staff with higher sounding pitch corresponding to higher placements and lower sounding pitches corresponding to lower placement. People into music or an otherwise undeveloped ear sometimes get tone and pitch confused. They are, however, totally separate issues. Just plug in your electric guitar and demonstrate this. Play the same note with the bass control up and treble down. Then play the same note again with the bass control down and treble up. Different tone, same pitch. Of the three main features of music: rhythm, timbre, tone, pitch. The average listener probably noticed the first two qualities more, the rhythm and the tone, at least initially. Pitch comes into play to a degree along with rhythm and tone, of course, but it is sleeper aspect in a sense. Its effect is less immediately obvious. In the long run, however, it is pitch that plays the biggest role in locking music into our long-term memory. What follows in the book relates to an analysis of subtleties of pitch. Music theory is largely an analysis of interactions between sets of pitches, scales, modes, keys, chords, and all the like are children Western music theory. At a basic level, all of those concepts are simply describing various sets of letter name pitches. To speak about these different sets of pitches in a useful way, to tell one apart from the next, we must have a way to compare them. We do this by measuring them. Then we attach a name upon every possible distance between pitches. We call them various distances between pitches intervals. Armed with this musical measuring stick, we can separate and evaluate the fluid world of music, built on soiled ground. The working structure of music begins with intervals. They are the building blocks of the large musical structure. Every musical structure. This is every convincible set of pitches may be defined by its intervals. A specified distance between two pitches, intervals define every possible relationship between pitches. Interval, a specific distance between two pitches. The intervals define every possible relationship between two pitches. Okay, so there are different kinds of intervals, of course, because you have one step and you have half step, and in Eastern music you also have a fourth step. So that's an interval. The distance, the half step, the full step, or the fourth step. I think there are some places who have 8 step, but I wouldn't even recognize it with my ear, I think. Let's consider a few intervals. Two pitches that are the same are said to be in a unison. That's an interval of 0. No distance at all. When you tune one string to another on the guitar, standard relative tuning method. You mean when I press 5 and I play 5 and the one below it? You are employing univision intervals, of course. Next comes the distance of one fret, for example, like half step, from the first fret to any string. On any string up to the second fret on the same string, it is called half step. A distance of 2 frets is a full step. Okay, a whole step. Okay, these are many more intervals names, but consider these. Every interval has an own unique name. Every interval has its own unique sound. Every interval has its own unique shape on a fretboard. So we can learn each interval by its name, sound, and shape. And we do this in part 1. I keep in mind that you are not learning 3 different things. You are learning 3 different aspects of one thing. This is the foundation of everything else that follows. After learning the intervals, you will see how they combine to make various large musical structure. And you will learn to recognize all of these by ear. In part 2, we expand that knowledge over to the full primary shapes. Then all these structures are woven together into coherent musical fabric in part 3. Parts 4 and 5 complete the fretboard by expanding what you already know into other areas of the neck and adding a few more advanced concepts. At the end, we take a look at a full song to apply everything you have learned and test your ear. Ooh. It's time to tune up. Track 1 on company audio CD is the lower E. It's time to tuning. So use your electronic tuner. The letter names of the notes. the letter names of the notes. Relax, man. First, take those on the lowest two strings, the E and A strings, or strings 6 and 5 respectively. Play up and down the natural notes below, saying the names and loud until you have fully memorized their positions, and you can locate any of them without pause. G. A. أهلا شو الأخبار؟ أهلا وسهلا. ليش لا؟ من 6 فايق أنا. والله. شو نمت كان على 8. على 8 نمت. والله. بدي اشوف بركي شو اسمه انزل عند تيتا اشوف اليكس وروزي بركي رحنا اكلنا لسه الصبح مثلا شو؟ لا شو هاد شو؟
خنايا مكتوب رياض رياح وخنايا
مالهم
شوفوا هذا هندفع
مش مكتوب. شو مش مكتوب بشي؟
المبلغ بس مكتوب انه عملوا عليك عقول على بنك ابراهيم مش عارف ايش كاتبين. انت مش لايف بالمبلغ. بدأ؟
فيش حدا عم بحضر بس مش مشكلة. بس
ايش حبيبي؟